Turbo and 2K show.
What is up, 2K crew? It is that time of the week again, and yes, we have Mr. Kyle 2K's Kaler back in the house. Brother, how you doing?
Good. How's it going?
Doing good. Man, it seems like we haven't seen each other in probably 2.5 months.
Yeah.
Even though I know that's exaggerating, that's just how it feels. The strep went through your house last week, and I'm glad to hear everyone's feeling better. Because that's no fun for anybody.
No.
That's no fun for anybody, especially 3 little kids, you and Chelsea.
Yeah, it actually worked out kind of like there's never really good timing for that, but it was kind of good timing because we had the cold weather, so we had like 3 straight snow days so nobody really missed a day of school.
Oh, that's good.
So the timing on that worked out, and yeah, it was just kind of a miserable 3 days there that week. To begin last week with the cold weather but no, things are looking better now. Looking like this week's going to be a little bit warmer. You can actually be outside.
Yeah,
So.
when you don't walk outside and your face hurts.
Yes.
No one likes that. No, I guess unless you're an ice fisherman.
Yeah.
Which you crazy ass people are still on the lakes today. I saw your ass. No, thank you. No, thank you. But 2K crew, yeah, we're going to get into the national title game reactions. Believe it or not, 2Ks and I are best friends. We haven't even talked about this yet. So you're going to get live reactions from me and him. We're going to break down the game this afternoon, the NFC Championship game, as well as the AFC Championship game, which is going on right now. But first, everyone that's watching over on TikTok, what's up? How we doing? If you're watching over on YouTube or on Twitter, welcome. Go ahead and give us a follow, give us a like. If you're on YouTube, hit that bell so you get notified every time we go live. And for the OGs, the audio crew, if you got us on in the car or on the treadmill, thank you for letting us share your day with you. But 2Ks, we got some news. We've got some news. And to start off, I have to admit I was rather lax on we had the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Mm.
So congrats to Billy Wagner, CC Sabathia, and Ichiro. And I think we can all agree that whoever the fuck was that did not vote for Ichiro to be a unanimous Hall of Famer is probably the same asshole that did not vote for Ken Griffey Jr. to be a unanimous. But congrats to those 3. I think that I would have liked to seen Andrew Jones get in.
I was going to say the same thing. I was going to say I'm a firm. You know how I've always kind of been.
Yeah, you hate the Hall.
The Hall of Fame pisses me off because it's turned into, in my opinion, the Hall of Very Good, and there's not.
At least the NBA was.
But with Andrew, like my whole thing with the Hall of Fame is like if you can go a stretch of your career, I'm talking like a 7, 8, 9, 10 year stretch of your career where you are the best player at your position.
Yeah.
He was the best center fielder in the MLB for probably a 8-year stretch there.
Probably from 18 to 26 or 27.
And then if you look at his career numbers, has the numbers to back it up.
100%.
So he was one of them where I think he kind of got snubbed on it.
But this was his first or second year, right? So he's got plenty of time.
Yeah.
He's got plenty of time, but it was CC and Ichiro's first year.
Mm-hmm.
So, and rightfully so, those both deserve to get in.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, kudos to them. We've had a bunch of coaching changes. Bears get their guy, Ben Johnson. The Jets get their guy. So pretty much there's no coordinators left in Detroit anymore. Let's see. The Raiders got Pete Carroll, which I think is awesome. Your Cowboys, I think, pretty much called every single person that is associated with football. And
I've already have said that I'm not a Cowboys fan anymore. I've given it up, and it's just like things like this that have led to me just completely giving up on them. Like you fuck around and you don't even know whether or not you're going to bring McCarthy back, and while this is all going on, these other teams are already interviewing the top prospects out there to become head coaches, and those guys have already taken a job before you even start the fucking process because it's just Jerry Jones until he gives it up. It's a fucking lost cause.
Yeah,
it's a lost cause. If this was going to be what you were going to come out of it with, it was your own fucking offensive coordinator that was already there, and I don't even think was a very good offensive coordinator to begin with.
No.
And that's what you're going to... You might as well just kept McCarthy.
Yeah, that was kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah.
But if you're McCarthy, if you're McCarthy, why the fuck would you want to be there?
And that's exactly what I think. I think that Jerry probably at the end of the day wanted McCarthy back. I don't think McCarthy wanted to be there. I think that's the way that it's all played out. I don't know this, but what I think, just the way that it's all played out, I don't think McCarthy wanted to fucking be there.
No, and I honestly believe that McCarthy was going to end up in Chicago.
I kind of thought so too.
I mean,
I kind of thought
that was like, it just seemed like the pathway or the history of the Bears. That seemed like a no brainer.
And then watching the Lions and Commanders game and with Tom Brady calling it, it almost just seemed like Tom Brady just like kind of knew that Ben Johnson was going to be the head coach there, and so it was very shocking to me that 2 days later, he's taking the Bears job, and then you start to hear these reports that he wanted the Bears job last year, but the job didn't come open, and so it's kind of like maybe all along that was the job that he wanted, is what it sounds like to me. So
I was listening to, it was either the McShay podcast or Ryan Russillo's podcast, and they said one of the I think it was Russillo, had Diana Rossini on. And she said that basically what it came down to was this coaching cycle, people or the candidates wanted quarterbacks. And you saw like Drake May, huge selling point of why Vrabes went there. And by all means, Caleb Williams is the reason why Ben Johnson went there. And I'm sure the $13 million a year had absolutely zero impact on it. Because that's why. But even in Jacksonville, their new hire, he wanted to be with Trevor Lawrence. So not having an established quarterback you have one in Dallas. Is he going to start week 1? How long is he going to be out? I mean, that's definitely a question mark. And do you think Dak is a good quarterback? I mean, that's not for us to decide. That's for the Mr. Schottenheimer to decide. And obviously he thinks he is. And then you look at the Raiders job, and going back to what you said about Tom Brady, I mean, Tom has been the liaison. He's been the one running these meetings with the coaches, the potential hires. And he thought too that Ben Johnson to the Raiders was a slam dunk. And it wasn't until the Bears were like, hey, come over here, do this. And then they threw $13 million a year on the table. That's when he's like, yeah, okay. Because the Raiders don't have a quarterback. And if you look at years past, either there's some studs in the free agent pool or in the draft, and it really doesn't look like there's nothing. Nothing.
No.
Unless you're willing to do, and I kind of said this last week, I'm kind of on the Jackson Dart train. I think he's going to be the best quarterback from this class by the time it's said and done. Is he a project? All of these kids are. All of them. And in my honest opinion, if I'm the Titans sitting there at the pick 1, I'm not taking Shedeur. I'm not taking Cam Ward. Give me the kid from Penn State.
Sure.
Give me that kid.
The kid that is a project that you can create.
No, I'm talking about the D end.
Yeah.
That kid, number 11.
Oh yeah, I mean absolutely. I'm taking Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter. I'm taking those are the 2 best players in the draft. Like, I'm a firm believer in when you're a bad football team, yeah, obviously you need a quarterback. If it was a draft like last year where you have a lot of quarterbacks, then absolutely you use that first pick on a Caleb Williams or a Jaden Daniel caliber quarterback. But you don't have that this year. The Titans have more problems than just the quarterback position. You have to go get the best player in the draft. Go get that best player, and I'm telling you, you won't regret it. No. You go for a guy like Shedeur Sanders, or you go for a Cam Ward. There's a good chance you're going to regret that. You're going to be 3-4 years later. You're going to be in the same fucking process, playing for the fucking first pick again, and trying to go hit it again with the quarterback. Go get the best player. You see it all the time. The best player in the draft is normally really, really fucking obvious, and hardly ever does that player lead to, basically a bust. It never does. And quarterbacks are a bust.
I would take him over Travis Hunter just because he's proven.
Hmm?
I mean, he on the biggest stages just takes over games.
Oh,
I mean, he looks like Micah Parsons
Yep.
right now.
Yep.
And what Mike is doing, regardless if you agree how they use him in Dallas or not, he is a game changer. Give me that guy so I have at least something to
Hmm.
build around. And like you said, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer.
Yep. You can't go wrong. Like, you cannot go wrong with them.
No.
The quarterback position, these two quarterbacks that you have, or these three quarterbacks that you have that are potential first-round picks, they are all projects. You have to go get the guy that is a guarantee.
Yeah. And if you're the Bears, do not draft Ashton Genty with your first round pick, please.
No.
In 2Ks, we kind of went on a little bit of a tangent. We'll come back to that, pin that. We'll circle back as we're talking in corporate speak.
The only thing with the Janty to the Bears is, like, there was a lot of Lions fans that were like, "What the fuck are they doing? Why are they going for Gibbs? Why did they could have gotten Gibbs and they never even needed to trade up?" That's what people were saying. And they don't need it. Or they signed David Montgomery. They didn't need a Gibbs. Well, Ben Johnson getting himself Gibbs.
But
As
he had
good
an
as
offensive
good
line.
as Saquon is, and obviously watching Barkley
God.
today and him going off, like, I think Gibbs is maybe the best running back in the NFL. Especially in that Lions system.
Yeah. Now the only thing I would I would kind of come back at you with that is they drafted Gibbs when the offensive line was already established.
Mm-hmm.
The offensive line in Chicago is disgusting.
It's got to get better.
So either free agency, we need to if Genty is your target, free agency needs to happen for the offensive line. Hands down.
Yep.
Otherwise, Caleb's going to die.
Yep.
And that team's going to continue. That offense is going to continue to be terrible.
Yep.
2Ks. Little note on your Tigers here. Little note on your Tigers, and I wanted to put this kind of at the start so we could kind of tease a little baseball talk. And Tigers turmoil over on Twitter. But by the way, this is not the only person I saw with this kind of take. Is that the Mets are considering trading for Tigers first baseman Spencer Torkelson per Ragazzi report. Now I kind of had a couple. The weird part is with baseball is that you can't trade draft picks.
Mm-hmm.
You can trade prospects, you can trade money, or you can trade proven MLB talent. And like I said, I'm not as invested in the Tigers as you are. I'm not ready to give up on him yet.
Either am I.
And even if Pete Alonso is part of this trade, like it's like a sign and trade type thing, I would still rather have Torque than Alonso. So I
just can't. I can't give up on the Torque 2 years ago, where he hits over 30 home runs and he drives in at 94 or 95 RBIs, and that version of him, I I still think that that's the player that he's going to be. And what scares the shit out of me is if they do move him, he's gonna figure it out somewhere else, and he's gonna go off, and it's just gonna be, it's gonna be one of those deals where the Tigers are always gonna look back on it and be. I just don't. I think it's too early now. If they go through this season and he can't get figured out, obviously I know that you're not going to be able to get you're not going to be able to get as much out of him as far as if you wanted to trade him or if you or whatever. But are you really going to get anything great out of him right now? So it's one of those where I don't think you're going to get enough for him right now by trading him.
Yeah.
So why give up on it yet? Because and the thing is, like, I'm still sitting here trying to figure out what the fuck the Tigers are doing. Because this offseason has been a complete fucking mystery to me. They don't want to spend the money. They don't want to spend the money and just get the Bregman deal done.
Mm-hmm.
So they're still fucking around with that. They went and paid Alex Cobb. Alex Cobb, of all people, that was who they were gonna throw a 2-year contract on.
Flaherty wants to go back.
Yeah, and that was the talk right at the beginning of the offseason. He's still saying, and it's just like, wait, we were 1 game away from being in the ALCS against the in a series against the Yankees,
where anything could happen.
Yeah, where anything could happen, and the whole talk was, we're gonna get the extension done with Skubal. That wasn't done this offseason. So I'm like, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
And it was all right. Well, there's plenty of bats out there. We're gonna bring them in there. And Alex Bregman was one of the key ones that they were talking about in the beginning of the offseason. I thought it was going to be a done deal early in the
A
offseason.
lot of Red Sox fans thought that too
And
about
here
him.
we are. Here we are getting ready for spring training here in a couple of weeks,
Yep.
and we still haven't got that deal done. And the thing is, it's gone this long now to where it's not going to shock me. I'm waiting for the day where he's going to end up signing with somebody else, and he's going to end up going right back to Houston.
Yeah.
I think.
He is and the only reason because they're offering him more than 5 years.
Yep.
And the Red Sox, he's been linked to the Red Sox this whole time too.
Mm-hmm.
And my big thing is if we get him for 3 years, I'm cool with it. Anything over that, you're just blocking the young kids that are supposed to be coming up. And because Bregman can play third and second.
Mm-hmm.
He said he would play second. Well, last I checked, Devers plays third. Is he a good glove? No. Is he a great bat? Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So move Bregman to second. Well, Christian Campbell's supposed to be coming up, and would not shock me if he's on the opening day roster.
Mm-hmm.
Well, put him in left field, which is fine. But he's a shortstop, second baseman. Can he play outfield? Sure, but if you put him in left, and then where are you going to play Roman Anthony?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't understand why Red Sox are just so like this has to be the move when there's now yes they're unproven at the major league level, but they've dominated every single level that they've been in, and you kept them for a reason this offseason because you think that highly of them.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I will say in defense of the Red Sox and the Tigers is that there were rumors that there's all these bats. There really weren't. I mean, Teoscar Hernandez, sure, but would you break him off 5 years, 7 years? No. To me, the only offensive weapon that I would even consider would have been Soto, which, as we saw, there was only like 3 teams that were able to afford that. So it is what it is. So I didn't see this offseason being a moving and shaking unless you were signing Soto.
Right.
To make like a big overhaul. Now next year might be different. I haven't even taken a peek at the potential, but I really didn't see a whole lot of juice out there this year. So maybe they're on the same thing. And if it takes 6 or 7 years to get Bregman, I'm out.
Yeah. No, I agree. Because I mean, you're already dealing with he's already in his 30s. So you're looking at if you're signing a 5-6 year deal, you're going to get him, at the back end of his 30s at the end of all of that. And the Tigers have learned. The Tigers learned with the Cabrera contract. They've learned with the Hobby contract. Like they're very, very hesitant to get themselves back in that situation. And I get it. I understand it.
And it's not like he was a 300 hitter hitting 300.
Right. 100%. He's not that. Like,
No.
But what he brings. The thing is, like, with that, why I have wanted him this entire offseason is because he's been there and he's done it.
Yeah.
Like he's played in World Series. He's won World Series. Like and that to me is what the Tigers do not have. They need those.
Same with the Red Sox.
They need those guys that like. That's why I would bring them in because they have all these young players. They have all the young talent. Do I think that they're gonna like last year we have to be real with ourselves. Last year was a fluke. They pitched out of their ass in the last month and a half of the season, and they got hot and they ended up just taking that and riding with it into the playoff. But when you have this young talented team that they have, like you need to have a guy or two that has been there and done it and knows how to take over a clubhouse and kind of show guys the way.
Yeah.
And right now that's what they don't have that on their roster.
No, and same can be said for the Red Sox as well. And at least your Tigers have last year as experience, where I think the only like major core player that's had any sort of playoff experience is Rafi, and that's it. Durant was on the roster in 21, the last time they made the playoffs, but didn't play.
Sure.
So very unproven. But you know who is proven? Going from Tigers to Tiger. I saw this and was like, holy shit. This is from Baseball History Nut, which if you don't follow him on Twitter, you really should. He is very, very he posts stuff like this all the time. Or she. I should throw that out there. It says that Tiger Woods was on another planet. This is bonkers. And he's retweeting something from Golf Gods. And it says Scotty Scheffler has now been ranked number 1 for 123 total weeks, passing Rory McIlroy. To catch Tiger's record of 683 weeks at number 1, he would need to hold the top spot continuously until October 2032. 5. That is
insane.
absolutely insane.
It is insane.
Now, not taking anything away from Scotty, because he's by far
Oh,
the
hell
best
no.
golfer on the planet
And
right now.
you know, in all reality, like the field that Scotty's playing in
Oh, way
today
harder.
is way
Way
harder
harder.
to do this than what it was when Tiger was going through his. And it's not taking anything away from Tiger. Incredible, the you know, the greatest golfer of all time. Don't think we'll ever see anybody you know that'll top him. And there's a very valid argument to be made that you know the field would not be what it is today if it wasn't for Tiger creating that. Tiger is the
Right.
one that made golf cool. Tiger is the one that, you know, all these guys that are playing in the tour today and the best of the best, I would almost guarantee that 90% of them are going to say, well, Tiger was, you know,
Hands
he's the
down.
reason why I'm doing this.
Hands down. And what is this one here? Okay, yep. We'll kind of end the news with this one too, Case. I threw this one in here because this is awesome. Coach Bill Belichick is awesome on social media, the Instaface, all of that. But he retweeted something from the Riggs and Stan account. I will remove a testicle if UNC makes the college football playoff. So Coach Belichick retweets that and says, that's one trophy we will leave in the case. I saw that. It made me laugh, and I really just wanted to share. I really just wanted to share. Well, two guys, let's get over to the national title game. I want your reaction first, and then I'll kind of give you my 2 cents on it. And then I have some stuff that some tweets I want to go over that pertain to this. So 2Ks, the floor is yours. Ohio State 34, Notre Dame 23, national championship.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on it?
You know, it was really a good game. There was a lot of people that were saying like, "Oh, I just think Ohio State's going to dog walk them. I think they're going to dog walk them." And I just kept on saying, "Well, I don't know, I don't know." And when I texted you last weekend
Mhm.
before, I said, you know, Riley Leonard has to play the best game of his career. He has to be, and he has to be able to. They have to. He has to be the main focal point. He has to be able to run the football
Mhm.
and extend drives. And you watch that first drive and the way that it played out, and it was just like it was a perfect start to the game because obviously they score a touchdown. They take off about
10 minutes.
10 minutes off the clock while they do it. But while I was watching it and when he gets into the end zone, I was like, you know, that was as good as it could have went. The only problem is there's
dead.
no way that he's going to be able to do that for another 3 quarters
No.
because he's not going to make it through. He won't make it to halftime if he
No.
keeps running it like that. Look, this Ohio State team, they're insane. Like that roster was fucking insane. That defense was so fucking good, and then their offense is just, you know, they have 3 NFL wide receivers. They have 2 NFL running backs. They have a NFL, you know, quarterback. Not that he's a world beater by any means, but he's going to be an NFL quarterback. They are loaded. And then with Notre Dame, like this team they were just fucking tough. It didn't matter what you threw at them.
Beat to
They
piss.
would take, and they were beat to piss. They were hurt. They were banged up. Right, reminded me a lot of, you know, on the defense side of the ball of what the Lions had went
Yeah.
through this year. Like that Notre Dame defense for the national championship game was not the defense that Notre Dame had at the beginning of the playoff.
Not even close.
You know, I mean, they had lost so many guys, and you know, Jeremiah Love, one of the best running backs in college football. He wasn't himself.
No.
Like he wasn't himself. He wasn't. He had the great run in the Penn State game where that what led to a touchdown, but it was just like he was just a shell of himself in you know, in these games. His fucking knee is hurt.
Yeah.
And but this team was so they were very, very fun to watch, even for me being an outsider and not, you know, being a Notre Dame fan at all. They were fun to watch because they were down to go blow for blow with anybody in the country.
Mhm.
Ohio State was the best team in the country, and I'm telling you, they did not back down to them one bit. And
No.
in the fourth quarter, made it pretty fucking interesting. Where you know, they forced the turnover where you know, the receiver for Ohio State fumbled the ball,
Which
and
Ohio State does not turn the
Yep,
ball over.
yep, and they get that, and it was like, man, this game, Notre Dame can
Game
do
got close
something.
real
Yeah,
quick.
yeah, they can do something. And I know fucking Ryan Day with Pucker is, you know, puckering up a little bit over on the sideline also because he wasn't jumping around near as much as what he was like in the second quarter of the game. But no, it was a good game to watch. The outcome of it was kind of what I expected. I did think that Ohio State was going to win the game, but I have to give a lot of credit to Notre Dame for making it a game because Ohio State was just dog walking pretty much everybody. They dog walked Oregon, and people were saying all season long that Oregon was the best team in the country, and Ohio State dog walked them, and then they went with Texas, and they fucking dog walked Texas. I mean, I get it; it got close there for a minute, but Notre Dame gave Ohio State the best shot of anybody in the playoffs. So, I have to give kudos to that. It was a good game.
I I can't argue a single thing that you just said. Um, I was kind of thrown a loop when I got on Twitter during the game, and everyone's like, "Oh, there's a football game on. Oh, there's a football game on." And I don't know if that's just because my team's in it, so of course there's a football game on.
Right.
But there was a lot of people saying the playoff took too long. They kind of lost interest. Well, that kind of happens when your team's not in it.
Right.
And if you look at, this was the longest season in college football history. And I think you and I have talked about the only different thing I would do is the conference champions don't give them the automatic bye.
Well, I would say, do we really need to have a conference championship game?
No.
It's meaningless. We just watched Notre Dame doesn't play in a conference, and they're in the national championship, and Ohio State didn't even
play in one.
didn't even play in theirs, and they're in the national championship. So the conference championship game to me, because I agree, I think that the season is too long. I would like to see this all take place and get started, and have the national championship game be right around the New Year's bowl games.
Yes.
Have the playoffs starting before you even get to New Year's Day.
Mhm.
And I'm fine with whatever. I know that they always want to avoid playing anything on a Sunday because they don't want to compete with. And then
Right.
the NFL is also playing on Saturdays at that time too,
Mhm.
and so they don't want to go with that. I'm fine with the Monday, but play it the fucking Monday after that weekend or something. And
Yeah.
do something. It has to be earlier in, because this is the problem. And it was a problem last year with when Michigan and Washington played in the championship game. Was all these other teams that are knocked out of the playoff or don't make the playoff, they've already filled their fucking lineup for the
Yeah.
next season. And Notre Dame and Ohio State are stretching this shit all the way into the middle of January, and they're the two teams that are penalized the worst
Mhm.
out of all this, because all these other schools that are out, they've already got 7, 8 guys coming out of the transfer portal and filling their roster and getting everything in line. And here's the two teams that have earned their spot here in the championship game.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that are taking the brunt of it. Last year it happens with Michigan and Washington, and then Harbaugh leaves Michigan and goes, and now Michigan's lifting a whirlwind
Yeah.
of what we're going to do. And then DeBoer leaves and goes to Alabama, and there's Washington left with.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, this was a terrible deal. Like, we
Right.
go to the championship game, and now we're struggling to get our roster and our coaches in line for the next season. So they have to figure out ways to, in my opinion, the transfer portal should not open up to where these teams can start until the season is actually over.
Yeah,
There's plenty of time.
Yeah, that's a major concern and it's going to take people smarter than you and I to figure that shit out.
But why is it that it keeps, and it's not just college, it's the NFL also.
Yeah,
Why is it that
coaching searches and everything else is ridiculous.
you get the Lions get a bye. They earn a bye because they're the number 1 seed, so they don't have to play that week. But their offensive coordinator and their defensive coordinator are gone that entire week, interviewing for other jobs.
I don't get that either.
Why is it that two guys in the town of Marcellus are talking on a podcast and about how stupid this is with college football and with the NFL, but yet the people that run this shit, that should be a lot smarter than us and have a lot more knowledge of this, they should have this figured out, and they don't. And it's like, why? How is this a conversation? Because this is really, really important shit.
Yeah. And I touched on the Lions thing last week, so I'm right there with you. But getting back to the game, you're right. You're one of your keys to victory was the Irish have to survive the first 15 minutes, which they did.
No,
Which they did. So I was like, okay. Now, granted, shortly after that, Ohio State scores, and then going into halftime, it was 21-7.
The problem was they didn't get ambushed in the first.
No, they got ambushed.
They got ambushed in the second. Unfortunately, it was they still got ambushed. The thing was, Notre Dame held the ball for 10 minutes on the first drive of the game, so the first quarter was basically over.
And
then
goes
they got
9-0.
ambushed in the second
Yeah.
quarter, look, Ohio State's been doing this to teams all season long. It's fucking hard to not get ambushed by that offense. So,
And overall, I mean, holding Jeremiah Smith to 5 catches and 88 yards.
Mhm.
Granted, he did have the touchdown, but
Mhm.
that was, I believe, that was the first one.
Mhm.
And you could tell that was just a coverage breakdown from jump, from the
oh
jump.
yeah,
And Judkins was the one that basically hurt him all game long. 100 yards, two touchdowns. But if prior to the game, if you would have told me that Riley Leonard would have more passing yards than Will Howard, I'd be like, oh, we won this game. We won this game. It was just the matter of, yeah, they had very similar stat lines, but the rushing is what Ohio State outrushed Notre Dame 214 to 53, and 40 of that was from Riley Leonard, and probably 30 of that was the very first drive. And you're right, that was very you could not sustain that. My major gripe is that the fake punt. If you're going to fake it back there, why not just have Riley Leonard rush it?
Keep the ball. Yeah,
that was my only gripe. That was my only gripe. And yes, that was a very big turning point in the game. And I mean, you could argue that converting that would be as important as them getting the turnover. And yes, it wasn't a bad pass. Probably Faison catches that 8 out of 10 times. But you're in the national championship game. Ride the guy that got you there.
100% agree.
No offense to Faison, no offense to Angeli who threw the pass, because if it wasn't for either one of those guys, Notre Dame wouldn't be in this game.
Right.
But Ohio State could not stop Riley Leonard rushing the ball. And then conversely, on the defense, they couldn't stop Will Howard rushing the ball, or any of the backs for that matter. But you'd get Ohio State 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7. They lose contain, and next thing you know, Will Howard's getting 12, 13 yards. So all in all, like I said, I wasn't upset at the end of the game. I wasn't throwing shit at the TV. I wasn't screaming at it. I thought the team played well and probably gave Ohio State the best match that they had by far in the whole playoff. And I think that in the one thing I kept telling myself is, this Notre Dame team is elite now. They're going to be even better next year. And now since the season is over for them, the big thing in South Bend is, why are all these offensive linemen going in the transfer portal? Oh my gosh, their center, the starting center, the 4 fucking quarters of Notre Dame football, that guy, he's transferring. Do you know why he was starting? He was filling in for someone who was injured.
Right.
And on top of that, they have a whole new, I mean, out of the offensive line recruits, I guarantee we have like the 3rd best recruiting class on the offensive line. So yes, he was amazing, but there just wasn't room for him.
Right.
And it's sad to say, but
that's the way it goes.
That's the way it goes now.
Kids they're gonna, and you can't blame them. You can't blame them for wanting to transfer, because they want to play.
Yeah,
they know that. Look, with a lot of these kids that are transferring out of there, that they've had conversations with coaches, and the coaches
100%.
have been like, they're going to be straight up with them, like, hey,
yeah,
this spot is somebody else's right now.
Yeah, and now if this would have happened prior to the playoff, that's when something's wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
But these guys were in. Everyone that was on this team is going to go into Notre Dame history. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Now, knock on wood, if CJ Carr transfers tomorrow, then yes, South Bend, we can have a conversation. Jeremiah Love has already said he signed a letter saying he's finishing his college career at Notre Dame. It was either yesterday or today he did that. We're fine. We're fine.
Oh yeah, 100%. And that's the thing too. That's what with when you start talking about like the elite programs, there's so much depth on them. Like that's what makes you really good. That's what
Open cashed his checks on
all these teams
year
that
after
are
year.
Teams that are making it to the Final Four or making it to to the championship game. Like you have to have depth to do it. You look at the Michigan team from last year. they were so good on that defensive line was so good. It wasn't like they had first round draft picks lining all the way up through it. The thing was they had 7 or 8 of them, and they were always fresh. You didn't have this year. You had Mason Graham, who was a first rounder, and you had Grant, who's a first rounder, but they weren't fresh all the time because they had to play basically every fucking snap because they didn't have the depth. Really good teams, they have plenty of depth where losing a guy or two or a few guys, it's not going to hurt them. It's not you are going to be fine, and you're coming off of playing in the national championship game. There's still guys out there in the portal. If you need to go fill, they're going to find guys to be able to fill, slot guys in.
Yeah. No, I'm South Bend. Calm down. Calm down. Calm down.
I mean, one thing that would be a little bit concerning with me with Notre Dame is like I think Notre Dame fans are absolutely correct. Like I think Carr is going to be a very good quarterback. But replacing what Riley Leonard was able to do with his feet in big time situations in games, like Notre Dame does not have receivers that can really make plays and get open consistently. Greathouse had 2 really good games. Hopefully, that he can take that. Faison was another one that I thought had moments this year, but they don't have like. When you look over on the other side, they don't have a Jeremiah Smith or
no one does
Mbakwa or any of the guys like that. So to have a quarterback like Riley Leonard that can make plays with his feet and get yourself, extend drives by getting a first down when it's a 3rd and 6 and he can run it and get a first down out of that, or they can go forward on 4th and 1, 4th and 2 and put the ball in his hands, and 9 times out of 10 he's going to make the right read and make the right decision and get that first down to extend drives. That's where with a guy like Carr, like we know the talent's there and he's probably going to be really, really good, but there's probably going to be some time that it's going to take to get to that level. When you go and you pick up a Riley Leonard out of the transfer portal, that's a guy that's been there, done that.
And it's hard to replace grit, heart, determination. The one good thing is that Carr got to see all of that.
Sure, absolutely.
He got to see how to lead.
Yeah, and I think that's the best way to go about things is being able to play, not have to be the guy your freshman year, and be able to play, take a redshirt year, play behind somebody like that. Riley Leonard, what they got out of him was not only a great quarterback, but a great leader. So having that in the quarterback room and having your young guys play behind that for a year before they take off, I think is always a very beneficial thing.
And you mentioned receivers. We've got Plexico Burris Jr. and Jerome Bettis' kid coming. So big things. Because I mean, there was a lot of a big lack of production from that wide receiver room. And hopefully this is Greathouse is like, holy shit, I can do this. Because he did it not once, but twice in a row on the biggest stage.
He's a man beater. He can get open and, man to man. And he showed that in the last 2 games. You have corners for Ohio State and corners for Penn State that play a lot of man to man.
That will be playing on Sunday.
He had big plays. So he can get open. He can get himself open. A very, very good route runner.
Now we've talked about teams, 2Ks. And I kind of wanted to end this segment with a little bit of fun. Okay? A little bit of fun. I got to see which one is which. Let's try this one. Okay. This tweet's from College Football Report. It says ranking the last 10 college football national champions. Now, obviously, this is going to be very, very, everyone's going to have a different top 10. But according to College Football Report, LSU from 2019, Bama from 2020, Clemson from 2018, Georgia from 21, Georgia from 22, Michigan from last year, Ohio State from this year, Bama from 15, Clemson from 16, and Bama from 17. Now, I'm not going to ask you to sit here and reorder these,
right?
Okay, because I mean, first of all, that LSU team with
insane.
Joe Burrow, those receivers, that's arguably one of the best college football teams ever.
And that 2021 Georgia defense,
yes.
Just
now let's flip it to this. This is from John Heschke. This he retweets something from Rivals.
This is the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
You tell us. Now 2K's Rivals is like a very national.
Yeah.
I mean, highly sought after publication here. It says, would 2024 Ohio State beat 2023 Michigan? And he says what I think a lot of us were thinking when I saw this. He says, me thinks 2024 OSU needs to beat 2024 Michigan first.
Yeah, I mean that's the stupidest take I've ever seen. Like,
but Rivals was not the only one saying this, which is what blows my mind. And yes, I get it. They're rivals, okay? Both win national titles back-to-back years. But let's entertain the question. Let's entertain the question. I'm going to go out and say 2023 Michigan beats the doors off of this 2014 Ohio State team.
yeah, I agree. I don't think that this 2024 Ohio State team was better than some of, they were maybe better than last year's Ohio State team just because of the quarterback situation. I would say that Howard was an upgrade at quarterback. But then you go back 2 years ago when Michigan beat the doors off of them in Columbus, and then Ohio State should have beat Georgia in that playoff game that same season with C.J. Stroud. That was, I would say that Ohio State team and then having Chris Olave, having Garrett Wilson, having a young Marvin Harrison Jr. Like, I thought that team was better than the team that they had this year.
Yeah,
maybe defensively, Ohio State defense this year was really, really good, but that Ohio State offense with C.J. Stroud at quarterback was better than the offense that they had this year. In my opinion, I'm sure that there's some fucking Buckeye dipshit that were ready to argue on that one, but
I'm sure.
But no,
I'm sure we'll hear from all of them.
That's like, look, I have not one. Have you heard me one time say that I didn't think that Ohio State was not the best team in the country? That's why I sat up here when we recorded after Michigan beat them and just fucking laughed. I just laughed because I knew that Ohio State was way, way better than Michigan this year. Way better.
Yeah.
And it was an absolute fucking just a fucking choke job.
Yeah.
It was a fucking choke job, and that's all that you can say about it. And hey, fucking congrats. Kudos. You guys won national championship this year. I would rather win a national championship and lose to my rival any fucking year. I'm not going to be the person that sits up here and says, oh, you got to beat your rival. That's all that matters. Fuck that. No, you play the game to win fucking championships. But when you lose 4 in a row and you have this group of seniors this year at Ohio State, and yeah, it's great. They won a national championship. Congratulations to them. But when they went their whole career at Ohio State and never fucking beat Michigan once, that's a pretty sour, pill to swallow there. And that's something that's going to be held over their head for things are great right now, and they're always going to be considered a national championship, and that's great for them. But that shit will always be held over their head that they never got it done against Michigan.
And I think Scott Van Pelt says it best. He says, you know what? That gold trophy is way better than gold pants.
Yeah.
Way better. And he says it pretty much is the culture in the locker room. He's like, I've seen that countdown timer that says, how many days and hours and minutes till the Michigan game. He's like, get that shit out of there. He's like, I understand the rivalry, but you're putting too much emphasis on one day. And now they've went out and proven it. So now.
Yeah.
Now there is absolutely zero thing you can say if Michigan goes out and beats them for a 5th time next year. Zero excuses, because you guys won a national. You say, well, all of our defense were seniors and now they're gone. Michigan seniors were gone last year.
Thing.
Yeah,
they do the same fucking
they
thing.
beat you then. So yeah, there is zero excuses for Ryan Day and this whole. Oh, woe is us for losing to Michigan. It's done. It's done.
Yeah, no,
it's done.
And it's just, and if the tables were turned and Michigan had won a national championship and they had lost 4 in a row against Ohio State, Ohio State fans would be having the same fucking argument.
Oh yeah,
the same fucking thing. You can't win this argument. It's just it's fucking nonsense is all it is. Ohio State won the national championship and that's what you play the fucking game for. And so congratulations to them for that. But you have, for that class that is going out that never beat Michigan one time, that shit that's going to be held over your head for the rest of your fucking life. It is. You have to beat your rival. You have to beat him.
Well, let's end this segment on this one, 2Ks, because this is kind of the pot calling the kettle black here. This is from Bleacher Report. Ohio State star Jeremiah Smith receives huge offer to enter portal after winning the Natty his freshman year. OSU's Jeremiah Smith offered $4.5 million plus to enter the transfer portal, which this tweet did not include, but has Ryan Day saying that there needs to be some guide rails put on NIL.
Oh, fuck you, you pussy! Like
He did this shit last year to keep his players.
this is what the game has turned into. This isn't a fucking shock. He's the best wide receiver in the nation. You don't think that if it's, and basically the way that it all works out now is teams have fucking free reins to do whatever the fuck they want and throw money all over the place and try to go after these kids. So be it. If I'm not mistaken, you had a guy that you stole from fucking Ole Miss and paid him to come here, and he scored 3 touchdowns in the national championship game for you. So and the talk was he was the best running back in the nation at the beginning of the year, and you went out and nabbed him from fucking Kiffin and Ole Miss. So fuck off.
It just sucks when it's your own guy, 2Ks. It sucks.
Sure,
It sucks.
Sure, absolutely.
But I just want to end that as I for sure had I pinned you for having
Ryan Day. He's always gonna have something. He's between him and fucking James Franklin. They always got something that they're bitching and crying about. I saw today too that Franklin stole the defensive coordinator from Ohio State.
Did he?
Jim Knowles is leaving to go to Penn State now and taking the defensive coordinator job there. So it's just those two battling it out. So
James Franklin better watch out if someone's going to steal his job.
Well,
because that buck hasn't won anything.
No.
All right, well, 2Ks. Let's jump into this Eagles Commies game. Eagles Commies in the AFC side, the Bills just took the lead 22-21. This game was kind of a shock to me. 2Ks. The line was 8.5 at kickoff. Eagles were favored by 8.5, and I cannot remember what the over under is, but the over under went out the fucking window. I had a feeling this is going to be a shootout. Did not expect this spread, so I hammered the 8.5 Washington plus 8.5 and the over. Well, I got half of that right. The Eagles went off, dude. Eagles went off. I mean, and they kind of, for all the question marks going into this, can Jalen Hurts throw the ball anymore? He had almost 250 yards passing and a touchdown. Instead of now, Saquon takes the ball, very first carry goes for like 60 and a touchdown. And I guarantee you, if you're a Commies fan, you're like, oh shit, this is going downhill really, really fast. And this is no. We're not giving up 200 to Saquon today. And I don't know if Saquon was dinged up a little bit in that second quarter.
Cab, it looks like.
Yeah. But that didn't keep him out of the end zone because he had 3 rushing touchdowns. And at one point, I looked on FanDuel, hashtag not sponsored, want to be sponsored. They had the over under on his rushing total at 164. And I'm like, not touching that.
Yeah.
Not touching that. So this was basically, and to kind of check another box here for the Eagles was, is AJ Brown okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, he has almost 100 in a touchdown.
He's fine.
Yeah.
And the other, the Goddard, the tight end, man, he's been kind of the one that nobody has really talked about, but he's had really good games basically every single round in the playoff.
85 yards receiving. And on the flip side, I mean, this was obviously Jaden Daniels, very first, rookie, won last week.
Just an incredible season. You have just the makeup of this kid, watching him this year, and I'll be the first one to admit, like I said last year, like, oh, no brainer, Caleb Williams is the number 1 pick, and there was even times where I thought, well, I'd probably go Drake May before I went Jaden Daniels, and boy, was I wrong. If you can go back and do it all over again, Jaden Daniels he should have been the number 1 pick. He should have been.
Let's
and I'm not saying that
the breaks, because if Jalen Daniels is in Chicago, that Chicago team, that the coaching staff is going to destroy him.
Oh yeah,
he definitely could not have taken all the hits that Caleb did.
And there's some truth to it, but what I look at though is just the makeup of the kid, and that's where I don't know if I trust Caleb Williams with. Like, when things are not good, Caleb Williams folds.
Yeah.
And when things weren't good with Daniels this year, he just fucking rose to the occasion. And I mean, how many games they come back on? I mean, you at the end of the regular season to come back and beat that Eagles team, and I mean, he rose to the occasion against the Bears when
He
he
ended the
rises,
Bears season.
and yeah, and it was just he did it so many times. You know, he goes into Detroit, one of the toughest places to go and play in a playoff game, and everybody was, Detroit was favored by 10.5.
Yep.
And he goes in there and it was and just had like, I mean, he was the best player in the fucking building that day, and or that night, and it's just he's just been incredible to watch, and so you can't take anything away from him.
No.
Obviously would have liked things to go better, but I can't put a whole lot of the blame on this game on him today either. I mean,
No.
you turned the ball over and it wasn't him. He threw one pick, but when you go back and look at it,
With 2 fumbles,
you fumbled
3 fumbles.
3 fumbles. You fumble a kick return
Mhm.
and give him the ball with a short field. Yeah. Eckler fumbled one on a short pass where he falls down and tries to get up and fumbles it and gives it to him, and so I don't. And then there was one of the other receivers, I think it was Brown, that fumbled the other
Yep.
one.
Dami Brown.
Yep. So it really wasn't. I
No,
thought
no.
Daniels was pretty. I thought he made really good throws. I thought he made good decisions. I thought he was solid today, against arguably the best defense in the NFL.
And the Eagles set a record for 7 rushing touchdowns in a single postseason game. Anytime you're going to get 7 rushing touchdowns, I have a very good feeling you're going to win that game.
And that's the thing. That's where, like, this Washington defense, their defense is just not good. They have to get better, and under Dan Quinn they will get better.
100%.
They got their dude at quarterback now, and now with Dan Quinn, their defense is going to get better. And the thing with Dan Quinn defenses is they normally are a defense that forces turnovers.
Yeah.
And that's what, and they might be a defense that bends a little bit, but they normally don't break, and they're able to force turnovers. So that's what I think and that's kind of what they've been riding on. That's what they did against Detroit. He forced turnovers.
Yeah.
Detroit had the best offense in the NFL this year. They could put up 30, 40 points every single game that they play, but when you go back last week in that playoff game against Washington forces 4 turnovers.
Yeah,
very
untimely and uncharacteristic. Let's put it that way. I mean, yeah, Goff did have the game where he threw 5 picks, but they won. So you could take it either way. But I was. It was a shame that the turnovers had to happen because at least a couple of them were unforced. It wasn't like someone was punching the ball out, stripping it away. It was just they fucking dropped it. And but kudos to the Eagles. I mean, they were the number 2 seed coming into this. I mean, they earned it. 3 losses on the season.
I mean, they deserve it. They deserve to be where they're punching their ticket to the Super Bowl. Their defense is freaking really, really good, and their offense, it just seems like, with the addition of, they already had, arguably the best offensive line. If they're not the best offensive line, I think you can kind of, them and Detroit are the 2 offensive lines that you go back and forth on. I would probably give the nod to this Eagles offensive line over Detroit's. But yeah, you bring Saquon into that. I mean, that's what they needed. They had their 2 stud receivers.
Yep.
They had a quarterback that can get it done. I know that for some reason Jalen Hurts takes a lot of heat, and I just keep on with him. And it's like, this year he's struggled. He's had some games where he's struggled, but I always go back to when they played in the Super Bowl a couple years ago against, like, I thought Hurts was maybe the best player on the field that in that Super Bowl, and they obviously weren't able to get it done. And you're going against Patrick Mahomes on the other side, and the dude just he just finds a way to win all the time. But so what the Eagles needed was they needed a guy. They needed a running back that they could, not DeAndre Swift or somebody like that. They needed a guy, and they got that, and
got that and more.
Yeah, yeah,
they got that and more. Well, 2Ks, we've got the Bills leading by 1 over the Chiefs going into the 4th quarter. Bills have the ball 4th and 1, and throughout this whole game, they've been going very aggressive on 4th down. So I have a feeling we're going to see a Josh Allen run here. But which one of these teams? Because we'll kind of go ahead here to the Chiefs Bills. Which one of these teams lines up the best against the Eagles? I'm leaning towards the Bills right now.
Yeah.
Oh, Josh Allen just decides I'm going to jump over the fucking
Only thing
Oh, did he lose the ball?
That's what I'm wondering. The only thing with the Bills that I would be worried about with the Eagles is can the Bills stop the Eagles' rushing attack? The Bills are very undersized
Yeah.
to where the Chiefs' defense, I don't think that you're going to just bully the Chiefs' defense and pound the rock. You're going to have to make plays through the air. Um, I mean, I guess to me, until somebody can knock off Patrick Mahomes, I'm always going to give the nod to the Chiefs just because as much as I
I think he did lose that
want.
ball. Where'd it go?
He doesn't have it.
No. No, of course, you really don't see his arms either.
No.
So I have a feeling that's going to be reviewed here for quite a while.
But I guess for me, I have to go with the Chiefs just because they got Patrick Mahomes, and until somebody can knock them off, I give them the nod as they're the team that would. I think the Eagles would much rather face Buffalo because I think they're looking at it, the Buffalo defense of maybe they can't hold up to their rushing attack, and the Eagles are not going to get cute with things. They're going to just try to pound the rock against you. And also, as good as Josh Allen is, arguably the MVP of the season this year, you don't fucking want to face Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. You don't want that. You don't want him. You do not want him in the Super Bowl. And
Nope.
I mean, say what you want about him. I think it's complete bullshit, all the calls that he gets, and it fucking pisses me off. And I every fucking time I watch him, I get pissed. But you gotta respect him. You gotta respect him. It's just like watching the Patriots. When they had Tom Brady in all those years, and all you wanted to do was see somebody beat the Patriots. You just wanted to see him. But at the end of the fucking day, you had to tip your cap to Tom Brady and just be like, man, that motherfucker is just good. He's just the best of the best.
The only thing that separates Mahomes from Brady is that Brady was doing it in his early 30s into 40, and Mahomes is 29.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot more of this
Oh yeah.
coming forward.
Yep.
Now, how much of it is it going to be with Travis Kelce, with Andy Reid? I have a feeling Andy Reid rides it out as long as he can. And
the thing that's been incredible to me with Mahomes' run here is he's lost his coordinators have gone. They've come, they've gone, they've left. And I get it. Andy Reid, he's basically the offensive coordinator there, so it is what it is. And then at the same time, you have to go through Josh Allen, you have to go through Lamar Jackson, you have to go through some of the best fucking quarterbacks. Or those names are the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And in the AFC, you have to go through those guys to even punch your ticket to the Super Bowl. And he just has done it year in and year out. He always gets the best of Josh Allen. He always gets the best of Lamar Jackson. And that's where, for me, it's like, look, the numbers, Lamar Jackson's going to put up better numbers. That's, he's a fucking freak.
Especially rushing numbers, yeah.
But when it comes down to the playoff football and Super Bowls, like, it's not about the numbers. It's about finding ways to win ball games. And there's nobody in the business that's better than Patrick Mahomes at finding a way to win.
I don't know if they got that first down 2Ks. I don't know if they did. All right. Yeah, I'm really pulling for a Buffalo Eagles Super Bowl, but there's still a lot of fourth quarter left, and we really haven't seen the refs come into play here.
No, this game is, in my opinion, as we watch this play out, is gonna whoever has the ball last is probably gonna be the team that wins this game.
And there was a tweet went out, which I should have grabbed it, and basically painting the picture of Bills are winning. No, Chiefs are winning, or Chiefs are driving to close the game out. Throws an interception. Bills take it back, and Jim Nantz is like, "Oh my God, he's going to the end zone." And then there's Tony Romo going, "Oh, Jim, there's a flag on the play. There's a flag on the play." Hopefully, it doesn't come down to that. But you never know. I kind of talked about that last week, and it's the calls are the calls. You know what I mean? And for those of you that are just pissed off, I mean, Michael Jordan did it for years. The Jordan rules were in place for a reason.
Yep.
which
Tom Brady had it.
which then went to Kobe, which then went to LeBron. I mean,
You're gonna protect your best.
Yeah.
That's just
Yeah.
it's just the human nature of the game. Like you're going, they know, this all is driven by money, and they know what sells. It's just like today. I thought there was a very questionable call on the sideline where they called a late hit when the guy from Washington hit Saquon,
Mhm.
and it was like, if the tables were turned and it was the running back for Wash, if it was Eckler getting pounded on the sideline,
Yeah.
that flag is not thrown. But because it's Saquon,
Mhm.
you don't want one of the best in the league get hit like that on the sideline, and I get it, but at the same time, it's frustrating to watch. It's
Mhm.
very frustrating. Last week,
Unless it's your team.
Patrick Mahomes, shimmies, doesn't know, he can't decide what he's going to do. Then last second slides down, and the two Texans players hit each other. They don't even fucking hit Mahomes.
Yeah.
And we're flags on the field. And then a couple hours later, you're watching the Lions game, and Jared Goff just gets fucking annihilated.
Defeated.
And
Nothing.
Nothing.
Nope.
Nothing. And it's just, I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to watch, because if that would have been Mahomes getting hit like that,
Oh God, yes.
oh my
Yep.
God.
Okay, they did call it turnover on downs, and I have a feeling that
That's
call is
hold,
going to
I
be
think,
upheld.
yeah.
Now, is it because it's Josh Allen and not Patrick Mahomes? No, no, it was just he was short. He was short
Yeah, I thought so too.
by about a half a yard, which stopping Josh Allen on a run like that
Mhm.
is a feat in and of itself. But well, 2Ks. I mean, that's kind of. I think we went over all of. Yeah, we went over all the tweets. Anything else to add before we wrap this up here, my guy?
No, it's gonna be an exciting fourth quarter to watch.
Yeah, I'm gonna get home and watch the rest of this. So I advise the 2K crew to do the same. We will see you guys and gals next week. And as always, Jim Rome, we're coming for you.